What's going on, you guys? Slumpy here. We're here with Darren, and we saw this comment by Ibra that says, "Would it be possible to elaborate on how Pissy Triple Burst comes up when opening Chaos Space and Quick Launch?" And with all these comments, we're gonna try and get back to you as fast as we can, with a clear and concise answer to your guys' question, because we don't want to, just all of a sudden answer and it just not be correct. We kind of want to elaborate a little bit more on the question because it's really hard to just answer and just like straight up tell you. So we'll be picking some comments from videos that we post up online. So make sure you guys are commenting, make sure you're liking and subscribing, to help us create more content for y'all. But without further ado, Darren, you kind of want to get into this question a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So in relation to this comment, so basically in the deck profile that I did, I spoke about this play that I did a lot where I would go triple burst Pisty, and it was like it comes up, and I remember doing it in the hand that I had Chaos Space Quick Launch. Um, with Dragon Link, it's like a little bit interesting because it really is hand dependent on like the rest of your hand, right? Because like I feel like with Dragon Link, even though you can make boards with like, really just like one or two cards, engine cards in your hand, it really does like depend on the mills, like Chaos Ruler mills, the zombie vampire mills. Like there's like a lot of things to kind of take into consideration when you're comboing, right? So like here I have like a normal hand of like, I mean it's a good hand, right? It's like a quick launch chaos base like I talked about, effect Veiler, rocket synchron, right? So like we'll go through this and I'll explain like how that play looks like and why I think that play is good. um, it's not like the most optimal. Like if I looked at it from this hand, if I had this hand, I would do a different play. But like I'll just show what that looks like. Um, I would start off obviously with the chaos space, right? Like let's pretend like the gamma is not here. We don't get ash. We don't get disrupted, right? Because like that's kind of the thing to do with Dragon Link. When you're practicing this deck, you want to practice it like, you know, you just want to practice like things in general, just so you know like the general formula of like what to do, how to sequence things, right? So then from here you'd go Chaos Space, pitch, the light for the black, special the black out, right? So here, what you could do is like you could quick launch here. If I was in this position, I think what I would just do is link this away to go for the Striker Dragon, and then I would go Chain Link 1, Striker Dragon, Chain Link 2, Black, which is normal. So you would just go for White Dragon and Boot. So this card, so like the boot is more important than the ravine. And when I say that, it's kind of like the boot is kind of, you don't want to mill this card. With the ravine, you can kind of mill it, and I'll explain why I'm saying this, but you want to add this card, right? Sometimes what I see people do is like they'll go straight, like if they have a quick launch in their hand, when they summon the black, they would quick launch, right? Uh, in this situation, if I actually had the gamma in hand, and if I feel like they didn't ash the chaos space, right? I would probably chain the quick launch, just trying to see if I could bait something out, right? But like this would already be your check for an ash, right? Just in case. Or if they didn't ash your chaos space, it could be because they're counting cards in your hand, right? So like this gets it so that there's three unknown in your hand, right? So when we're doing the chaos space, pitching Valor, adding the black, right? So that leaves three unknown, and then if you activate the quick launch when you have a blank board, that means that there's two unknowns. So maybe then they'll ash you, thinking like maybe that's the time to ash, right? But so, anyways, like that's something that you could look into doing. You could also go the Romulus route here instead of going Striker Dragon first. So then that way you would set up kind of like this kind of a board where you would do Pisty, Striker, and then Romulus at the top, right? But anyways, let's just kind of go through this with the way that I'm kind of saying this right now. So we go with the Striker Dragon. We add both the white and the boot, right? And then from here, we would special summon out the white by banishing the black. And then from this point here, what we would do is So I'm gonna do a different play, which isn't like the play that we should be doing from here is well, obviously using the chaos space to put back the black, right? And like I am gonna draw cards just because like if we draw something that's like a combo extender, which our deck is, or like a starter, a normal summon, or anything like that, it changes up the entire play completely, right? So you really do have to think on the spot. There are certain spots that are standard and then certain spots that aren't. But what I would actually do here is so when I use Chaos Space and I target my black, I actually chain Quick Launch as well. So then that way I don't end up drawing it just deck thins, right? You deck thin out a rocket tracer so you don't draw a tracer. You would put black to the bottom of your deck. And you can always quick launch before you do the chaos phase. I just chain it because it's quicker because when I'm searching my deck, right? So anyway, so I do it in that sequence. I would draw a card, right? Gamma, cool. We drew a dead card. So then from here, what I like to do is like, because you have to count your summons when you're doing this, right? So like from this point on, you committed 1 to the black, 2 to the striker, 3 to the wyver burster, 4 to the tracer. So you have 4 summons right now, right? So what I would do from this point is I would actually synchro these two into a chaos ruler. Because so the reason why this is really good at this point is because again, it's just this is your 5th summon, so you can't get nibbed. Like they can't nib you on this play. And then what also happens from here is like you chain block in case they did have a gamma and they just didn't use it because there was no correct time of using it, right? So then from here you would go chain link 1 ruler, chain link 2 white. So you would add the black to your hand. And then I mean we're hoping that we don't want to mill the Dragon Ravine, but even if we do, it's not the end of the world, right? So I'll just shuffle up here. Mill 5, right? 1, 2, 2 safer, 3, 4, 5. So this is like a good example. So we didn't hit the Dragon Ravine. We did get some really good cards here in the form of our normal summon because we haven't committed our normal summon yet, right? So we're going to get safer for sure because we haven't committed our normal summon yet. We also have Tiding in here, which I really like. So it gives us another Ravine discard, right? Like if we need to, or not discard, but if we want to send chamber and then we go tiding into chamber and do that route, right? The other interesting thing is like we could always go normal summon safer, which is probably what we are going to do. But before I skip onto that, so we'll just continue. So this is what I mean. Like your mills matter a lot, and this deck is very much think on the fly, right? A lot, kind of like Adamancipator is what it reminds me of. So then from this point, we're gonna go Romulus, right? And then we go Romulus effect, and we're gonna add. We add, where is it? Oh, Ravine, the next card. Okay, so we add Ravine from here, right? So then from this point, okay, so we have this type of hand, right? And we're thinking like, okay, so what do we do from here, right? Well, what we can do at this point is we have Ravine. We also, what we can do is we can go, I would probably go normal summon safer and then use safer effect. Pitch the black in hand because it's a dead card at this point, right? And what I would actually do is I would add the chamber to hand. So you add the chamber to hand, and then I would use the tiding effect from here. Uh, Actually, you can even do something way cooler. So this is actually the better play. So the better play is activating the Ravine. Ravine effect hits the chamber to dump a card, and you would dump the Levy. Then you would use the Safer Effect Engrave, add the Levy to your hand. Special summon the Levy by banishing 3 darks. So 1, 2, and then like it could be like the black metal 3, right? You rip a card from their hand. So they're 1 card down. So then from here, this is where you have that triple burst play, right? And you haven't committed, you did commit your normal summon, but you did not commit the boot sector, which is really good in this situation, right? So then from here, what I would do is and they haven't really like they're down a card because you hit them off the levy. So even if you get nibbed here, you're still in like a pretty good position because you still have so much follow up. Like you still have the tiding in your grave, you still have the ruler. So even if they nib you at this point, it doesn't really do anything, right? because you have so much follow up. So then from this point, you would go into the Pisty with the Safer. The Levy and the Romulus here are going to make, where is it? The Triple Burst. Okay? So you're still not locked into anything. So at this point, you would go Pisty effect, and you could effectively get, like, if you wanted to, let's see. I think I'm
Probably
going
bring
to get.
back the tracer here, right?
Yeah, I would get the tracer. What I actually would do is I would probably keep the black in grave and banish the tracer instead, because you still want more lights and darks in your grave. So you want something that's actually banished. So I would, yeah, Danny, you're right. So you would go for the tracer play here, right? So, and like I said, even if they nib you here, you still have way too much follow up for them to do anything, right? Then from this point, so it just doesn't make sense for them to. And then at this point here, you would go into the Heradic Seal. So now, even if they nib you, you still get the red eyes, right? From this point on. So, anyways, we still have our full hand here. We have our full grave. So the best thing that I always liked about this play is rather than I always hate doing this where I have to get rid of Ravine to activate my boot, right? So the best play here now, because you don't care about what you're locked into, Tracer effect, you pop the Ravine, and then you would go, where is it? You would go for, there's like a few different line of plays here, right? You could go for the recharger or you could go for the rocket synchron, because the reason why you would go for the rocket synchron, remember, you milled, we discarded the chamber and we still have a tiding in our grave, right? So at this point we go tiding effect, special the chamber effect, and this is why I really like the chamber package in this deck. Like the chamber package is really, really good if you mill it off of, if you mill this card off of the zombie vampire or off of chaos ruler, or if you do this, right? But if you hit one of the, or if you hit one of the traps, then this automatically comes alive. So then from this point here, you would go these two into your savage effect to equip. So you would equip triple burst here. Let's put this down. So you'd equip the triple burst to it. You still have your ruler effect in your grave, so you would use your ruler. You'd banish like a pisty, and then a light would be white. You'd go for this. And then from here, you would just go like these two to get like your standard play, right? You would just go these two into your hot red, wherever it is. Here it is. I usually like putting this in defense for the 25. And then we have the tiding set, right? So that's kind of what I mean with the triple burst pisty play. Obviously, it depends on like what you pick. This is like my standard board of what I would be making if I was going first, because you don't always want a zombie vampire because like there's a lot of grave decks right now. So like this is kind of like your main go-to play, because this kind of plays around everything. Like even if they droplet, right? Like you can always go like let's say they get rid of 3. You can go and let's say it's not a trap, then you would just go tiding, put back one of the ones that they just discarded, right? Into their hand, chain hot red, negate the droplet, and then you can kind of play from there. That's how you would play around droplet with this card, right? Which is also why I like the tiding play. Um, and look at it this way: we still didn't use our boot or our rocket synchron, which is just insane when you think about it, right? Like you didn't use two like and then we like the follow up for the next turn. We have another safer, we have a chaos space, and we have a levy, right? So like the name of this game right now for Dragon Link really is to mill off of the Pepega ruler. Like it's you mill off that thing, and you just almost always win, right? So like that's the thing with Dragon Link. I think is just to kind of note like you don't I want to say it's as simple as like, oh well, you draw chaos space and quick launch, and that's the pisty triple burst play, right? It isn't really, because you have to take into consideration like all the different things, right? Like there's so many different line of plays that you can make, and you just kind of have to think like what's the best line of play and what will give me like the most amount of disrupts. That's why this deck is so fun. I was just watching a DB Grinder video today about this deck. I was watching Invoked versus Dragon Link, and he was even saying it, like this deck is just so much fun to play because it's so versatile. It really does remind me of like Adamantipator, because like your end board is the same, but the way you get to the end board is it can be done in so many different ways, right? Like you can open up
Yeah.
like so many different cards, you can mill so many different cards. Like there is no standard generic way of doing this stuff. Like it just really is like free for all at this point. And like I don't know, like that's why I love cards like Noctovision. I love cards like like the quick launches, anything that's like an extender. That's why I did the tiding package too. I did the tiding package over the one for one Brotar, and I think it was like a call by the Brave, or call by the Grave, I should say,
Hmm.
because um the tiding package just offers like a lot more. Like it's an extender, it's a going first card, it plays around things that you lose against. I just think that it's a really good card. It deals with things like Mystic Mind, like more of like the rogue stuff, I think is what it deals with, which is why I really, really like it. So yeah, so like that's kind of an example. I know it's not like a standard linear play, but like that's not if you're looking for like so to answer that question, Ibra, I think your name is like it's not a standard play, right? Like it's not like a you can't just copy it and just be like, okay, yeah, so like this is how you do this, right? Because no, like that chaos ruler mill is going to be so important, the chaos space draw is going to be very important. You just have so many different ways of going about things that just changes things up, right? And like just your way, like I'm just gonna pile shuffle really quick because I just want to show everyone like how fun this deck really is when you play it. Like it really, people laugh because like I mean, as bad as it is right now with Despia and that new contact card coming out, the thing that I always love about Dragon Link is how versatile and how flexible it is, right? Like this deck can always come back at any time. And then now we have like Borland coming out, so it means even more stuff to kind of look into, right? Um, Stay tuned probably for those videos, but
Yep.
yeah. But like there's just so many fun things that you can do, right? And like opening your hand just like it's really fun. I find it really fun when I open my hand. Like I don't like opening my hand and looking at like, oh, Alistair, normal summon Alistair, effect. Use like I don't like those standard linear plays. I like things where you have to think on the spot, right? Like I like it when you open up a hand like this. You have two hand traps in this hand, which is perfect. You have a levy, which is kind of dead, but that you like to see as well. And like there's just lots that you can do with this hand. So like you look at this hand and it's all about sequencing first, right? So your sequencing has to go like, okay, what hand traps are played right now? Is Droll and Lonkbird played? Not really. It's mostly seeing play in the side deck, right? So can I start off with a Chaos Space? Yes. So you would activate the Chaos Space. Which card would you pitch? You can pitch your Ash. You want the Levy kept in your hand. You don't want to banish this card, right? So you want to keep the Levy in your hand. Your Rocket Synchron can be an extender or a good normal summon. So you would pitch the DD Crow because it's dead right now, right? And then you would go from here. You would go into where is it? The White Dragon, wherever it is. Here it is. So you'd go into the White Dragon Wyver Burster. So I'll just give it a good shuffle. Banish the crow, special summon out the white, link away the white to go into striker. Like this stuff is linear. Like that's why this stuff you can kind of speed through because like once you know this is kind of your bread and butter type of play, right? Like you know this stuff at the back of your mind, like what you're going to be doing. You get black and you get where is it? You get black and then you get blue, right? So this part you know is standard. And this is what makes it exciting is like you get so many additional draws and ways to fix up your hand just to continue. So you go black here, you banish white, you use chaos space, you put the white to the bottom, you draw a card, you draw another rocket synchron. Oh well, so now what do I do from here, right? So now from here you would link these two away, you would go into step two, the Romulus, right? Or whatever step it is. I always consider because like in terms of link, I go striker is always like your step one. Sometimes you do make Romulus first, right? But like at this point, you would do it this way. Then you would trigger your Romulus and black. So you would add the white and you would add the ravine, right? So you're at this point right now. So you're looking at this and you're thinking, okay, well, now what's next, right? Okay, so now what's next is we still haven't committed our normal summon, right? But we don't want to commit our normal summon because our rocket synchron isn't going to do anything here. So now what we do is we activate our ravine. Ravine effect, we pitch our dead white because we already summoned out the white, and we dump Apsor Outer. Apsor Outer effect gets us the, where is it? The Rocket Tracer, right? Okay, so now from this point, be very observant. We have three darks in our grave right now. We have a levy in our hand. Boom, special levy, banish the three darks, right? You rip a card out of their hand, and now from here, you go into your nib protector, which is your seal. Where is it? So you go into your seal. So this is what protects you from that nib. Again, we still have not committed our normal summon, right? We still have our normal summon, and we still have like different line of plays that we can do. So at this point here, I would like this is what I say. I always hate doing this, like getting rid of a field spell for a field spell, because like Tracer, I mean, you special summon the Tracer and you special summon the Rocket Synchron, right? Just because it's a free extender at this point. But like you don't always like doing that, but whatever. You do it in this situation. Tracer effect, you pop this, and then you would go into where is it? The recharger. From this point, if you get nibbed here, well, you get nibbed here, right? And then you would just go seal effect, special summon out the red MD effect, special summon out the tracer, make these into a quad boral, pitch a card, and again, we still have our normal summon. So that's like the really important thing, right? So this is what I mean. This deck is kind of like all gas, but then also has two hand traps like you saw that we opened up, right? So let's just continue to say we still don't get hand trapped. So at this point, we go these two into our broken card, Chaos Ruler, right? Chaos Ruler effect. We mill 5. 1, so it's a chamber. 2, Chaos Base. 3, Veiler. 4, Tiding. 5, Chaos Base. Amazing. We hit Tiding and Chamber again. We're going to add the Veiler to our hand because it's another disruption, right? So we send these to the grave. Okay, so now what do we do from here? So we have a few different line of plays here, right? So we go, what I would do at this point is, again, synchro these two into our hot red, synchro these into our hot red dragon, and then we would have, you know, our tiding to special summon out our chamber effect, gets us, yeah, they're tiding. Again, we still have our normal summon too. So from this point on, like I said, we still have our normal summon, we still have our chaos ruler, right? So we can use our chaos ruler as well. At this point, what I would probably do here is a bit of a different, interesting play. I would just go, let's see if I go that, summon up that, summon that, go to that. Yeah, so what I would do here is I would go Rocket Synchron effect. I would special summon out the Levy because the Levy was properly special summoned, so you can summon this card back out, right? So the Levy goes into that, and then you use the Chaos Ruler effect, and then you would just banish a light and a dark. And then from this point, you have Chaos Ruler and Levy, so you overlay these two into the Zombie Vampire. This card is broken. This card mills 4 and then special summons 1, either from our grave or our opponent's grave, right? So here we go. So we mill 4 and then we can special summon. So 1 Safer, 2 Nocto, 3 Tracer, 4 Safer. This is broken. Again, do you guys see all these different line of plays that you can do, right? So from this point on, you would special summon out the Nocto, send these. They also send to the grave too, right? And then from this point on, you have different avenues that you can go through here. So you can go, for example, you can link. Let's see what we would do here. We would link. Sorry, and you would detach one from this. So you would detach the levy, right? So then from this point, you can go. What did I just? So I special summon the Nocto because we're going to draw a card off the Nocto. Even if like so if I mailed like a ghost ogre off this, I would special summon the ghost ogre, and that's another disruption. So the cards you want to hit off the zombie vampire are like ogre and noctovision, right? Or like chamber 2 if you don't have it. So then from this point on, there's like a few different line of plays that we can do, right? Uh, like some really cool, interesting plays. You could go quad boral and then pisty, and then like I'll just show you that guys that play. So we'll just do this. So these two into a quad, this into a pisty, right? So we have this, and now at this point we can special summon something that's banished. We can special summon whatever. Like we can target, like our what would we do here? We could target like our chamber, summon that back out. You can summon out your safer because we haven't actually used safer to affect either. So that's like a possibility. I think what I would do in this situation and in this play though, and we still didn't even draw off our Nocto, so this was set up like this, I believe. So from what I would do at this point is I would probably go for a different line of play and just go these two. Yeah, so these guys into an IP. You would draw a card. So we drew a Veiler because like our deck is mostly hand traps at this point, right? So then we would go these two into a quad boral. We would go quad boral effect. We could just pitch a Veiler
We could
top.
also, we haven't safe it either, so we could just pitch that if you want to keep another hand trap as well.
Correct. Correct. Danny's actually correct there. So we would actually do that. So then that way it saves us the Veiler, right? So we pitch the Levy, special summon out these two, synchro these two, into your savage effect. You'd equip whatever the highest one is. I think it's Romulus. You'd equip the Romulus, set the tiding, and now you effectively have, like 8 disruptions, right? You have just with this one line of play, and this was just like with a random opening hand. And then if you look at it, you have so like you even have disruptions in your grade. So like if they try going after the tiding, right? Let's say if they have like a something random, like let's say if they try to Vishuda your back row, you have a Noctovision to protect it. You have a Chaos Space as your follow up for the next turn on the Striker Dragon, and we have the Recharger in our grave. We have a Levy with the Safer. We have a Chaos Ruler because we overlaid into the Zombie Vampire. Like there's just so many like recovery plays here. Like once you get to this kind of play, and especially because hand traps aren't being seen right now because of Despia, like they just auto scoop. Like a lot of decks will just auto scoop at this point because like how do you deal with this? You have 8 disruptions, hand traps not really being seen. As you saw, even if we did get hand trap there, it just wouldn't have mattered because like we had so much fuel to continue going on. And that's the thing with Dragon Link. You genuinely do not care if you get hand trapped because you just kind of continue on. Even if like let's just say you don't have this and you don't have this, that's fine. You still have one, two, three, right? Or like let's say you don't even have the tiding. Let's say if you just have a seal hot red, 3 hand traps in hand, right? So like this is like the thing about Dragon Link that makes it really, really strong and persistent in a meta that we're currently in right now too. So that's why I chose it for this 1K tournament as well. So going back to that comment of like, what do we do? What I like to suggest to people is like, play out your hands, see what happens. Like open up, like just have fun with this type of deck. Know like what your standard line of play is. Like, what's your win condition? What are you trying to aim for, right? I don't always try to like, put everything on the field and then that way I have nothing in hand because like if I get blown out by something like by a super poly or a dark ruler or a droplet or whatever, I just don't want to lose. So I want to make sure that I have equal amount of cards in my hand as much as I do on the field, right? There I believe it was like what a 5 and 3, so I had 3 hand traps in my hand and then I had 5 cards on the field that disrupted. So like we're almost at a 50-50, right? So like you always kind of want to have equal amount of cards in your hand and equal amount of cards on your field, which is why I really like the Dragon Link deck and I think it's really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the input. It was a very informational. Again, if you guys have any comments or any questions, make sure you guys comment down below. If you guys want to see maybe some replays, I know we had a couple comments about that. Or if you guys just have any questions generically towards us or anything, make sure to comment And please smash the subscribe button and the like button. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. And this is Slumpy Slipping Out. Thank you guys.
Thanks.